Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nedling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Nedling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will help you grow your business and take it to the next level. Today, I'm very excited to have on Ken Stearns, and he is a writer, podcast creator and host, lyricist, and photographer. He's a well-traveled, well-seasoned midwestern kid, beginning his third act, I can appreciate that, in this life for himself and that of others. Ken traded in his suit, again, I can appreciate that, for a van, a mic, and some questions. He is roughly 12 months into his journey and feels that it's given him so much more than he ever imagined. I thought that the great theme today would be risking it all, considering he gave up that suit, got that mic, and he's going around interviewing others, which is what I love to do too. So risking it all is our theme. Please welcome Ken Stearns. Ken,
thank you, Vicki.
Thanks. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know, I do have a lot of, I guess, compassion and sometimes envy for people who decided to follow their dream and really to risk it all, to really say, I'm going to do this and I'll learn from things that go wrong and just make it great. Before we get into all of the meat of this, though, I always ask the simple question to tell everybody what part of the country are you traveling in now or living in now?
Yeah, it's I didn't realize you were in Roswell.
Yes.
We could have done this. We could have done this live in person. I'm in Hartwell.
Well, you know what? My brother-in-law has a lake house in Hartwell, and we love to go to Hartwell. So yes, we'll have to get together and do something.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm at my sister's lake house. That's so funny. So I started in April, and I made it across. I started in Washington State, and went all the way across the upper half of the U.S. and then down the eastern seaboard, and parked the van in December to take a little family break, Christmas break, and also I was at a kind of a crazy pace. Interviewing. I went to 60 cities in that time and interviewed about 200 people.
Wow.
So I needed a little break.
Yeah. But it's so cool. You know, I when I was, 12 or 13, my dad took a month off of work. He was a postal carrier.
Great.
And we went from Pittsburgh 2 weeks down the southern part of the US, and then 2 weeks from California back the northern part of the US.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, the youngest was 4. And she unfortunately doesn't remember the excitement and the craziness that we had. But whenever I reflect on that, I think of all of the interesting people that I met along the way.
Yeah.
And now in all my travels of my 65 years going around that sun, there are so many crazy, great people that I've met that's what inspired me to do this. And that's when I read your bio, I thought, oh my gosh, we're like kindred spirits. I love meeting people in this environment.
Podcasting's been so much fun. I've met so many great people.
So what is the biggest lesson that you've learned from your travels, from working overseas, from really doing these interviews? What is the biggest lessons that you've learned?
I mean, Vic, if you put both together, then you've got the human side,
Yeah.
right? You know, the human side.
Hmm.
I think for sure the one lesson, that one thing, that kind of a mantra that came out from the travels and hearing people's stories, human spirit is unbreakable.
Yeah.
The depths, how bad humans can treat each other,
Mhm.
how bad we can treat ourselves, even the the pain, the emptiness that people go through, the how low they go as people, as even humans, and the way they reflect on their own actions or just mental state, and that the fact that we can pull out of it.
Mhm.
And oftentimes the journey's lonely.
Yeah.
People can reach out, people can ask you. They can bring you to they can bring that dry mouthed horse to the water, but sometimes horse
Never
gonna turn
drink.
around and kick,
Yeah.
and just put up dust.
Mhm.
And people are working out their demons, or working out, whatever it is they have to go through in life to get to that recognition of self and the value of, that they are good enough.
Yeah.
And these dark times will pass. Just human spirit is just amazing, and I'm lifted up by that. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, my spirit is like, I had no idea how strong people actually are,
Mm.
to what they can go through and still come out and share and be amazing humans at the end of it.
Mhm. So true. I think sometimes you can't really know joy unless you know pain.
Mm,
You really you don't understand how thankful you are until you see the pain and the aggravation and the frustration of others. And I think that's why having a daily prayer of gratitude is so important because it really refocuses you. Each day is a new day to remember, oh my gosh, you know, I I
gratitude,
I got through
gratitude.
this. I got through this, because there are just tough times and then whenever you do have that good time, sometimes we forget, right? We forget, oh gosh, I should be
Yeah.
thankful for this great time I'm having.
Yeah, because there's down days. I mean, you have some
Oh
days, that are just rough. I was sharing this morning, I tried to get out. We had a great interview lined up, and we get online. It's my Monday morning. It's 10 in the morning, and the audio just doesn't work. And and it's just like, and I planned, like, last week. I spent a lot of time working hard to plan the week, and and just to get that at Monday morning, and you're like, oh,
mm,
really? Oh, and so just getting through those little moments, because now here I
yeah,
am with you, and everything is perfect, and
yeah,
and so it just that's gone. That's there. It's already passed.
yeah.
Um,
And
just
that's the
rolling.
key thing. Let it go.
Oh,
Let it
let
be
it get.
past. Yeah. But there are people that just like would dwell and dwell, but you let it go.
I was one of those. I mean, I for sure have become a different person,
Mm,
traveling on my own. Living in corporate life, living overseas is a certain kind of a lifestyle,
yeah.
and for sure, I've changed lifestyles dramatically. Going from a corporate lifestyle to basically not living in, but living out of a van and
Just thinking.
two suitcases. I
Yeah.
mean, I have everything I need literally in a couple of suitcases and two boxes. And even some of the stuff that I packed that I thought I needed, I don't actually need. It's like, I mean, it's kind
Yeah.
of crazy. And actually, the stuff that I need the most is my branded stuff, my clothes, and a computer, and a good camera, and a good mic, and I'm happy right now.
Yeah. And Wi-Fi. Well, Wi-Fi.
Somehow we have good Wi-Fi here.
So I want you to just talk more about you touched on it a little bit, but risking it all. You gave it all up.
Mm,
When you had that thought in your mind, I'm going to do this. I know because I've been there, but I know there was moments of doubt. How do you deal with that?
yeah,
How do you go ahead and risk it all?
it's tough. There were some crazy moments. Um, Definitely in the planning stages, knowing I was going to quit.
Mm,
And quitting a job is probably one of the more stressful things I've ever done, because
yeah.
you get very close to a boss. my boss, I was at a senior level in every company, and I was very close to CEO or a regional person, but I always had very good relationships.
Mm.
And, quitting is like, it's like you're a quitter in a way, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of connotations you got to get your head around, that you're not quitting, you're doing something different. But people look at you like you're a lunatic. First
Yeah.
off, I can
Mhm.
tell you that. So there's what's going to happen when you do it. But man, I was so over what I was unprepared for was the emotion once I'd done it. And that was a first kind of wave
Yeah.
of, like, I was a free man. I called it a free man. And I wrote a song. I just finished the song. It took me a year or something, but I wrote a song called I'm a Free Man.
Mm.
And, I was really, literally, truly emancipated from so many things, the mental stuff, the physically being at an office, the work 24, you literally never stop thinking about the job. They own you 24/7 in corporate life, especially in management.
Mhm.
Um, and so there was, man, I can't describe it. I wrote this video, I not wrote, but I took a video, I took a selfie, and I never do that. I took a selfie just saying, I don't want to forget this moment, good or bad. 24 months from now, I could be back in a company.
Yeah.
The risk is there.
Mhm.
I got to see this video and remember this moment, that I can't go backwards. I can't go back. And the other one that hit me was when I bought the van and all that planning. And I had, boy, man, my research, I spent 2, 3 years planning this. And, when I was in California, and there's a photo of me standing by the van with no branding on it. And I just jump up and I took a photo with the sales guy took it of me. And he left, and, fanfare's over. And there I am, some idiot with a big van and an idea.
Yeah.
And, nobody, I don't think anybody believes in me,
Mm.
for sure. My kids love me, my family loves me, but I think they thought I was a lunatic. Um, and you realize, there's no going back.
Yeah.
And it's so much, there's moments of absolute emancipation, of, feeling so free in your own self, terrified of that,
Mm.
because everybody thinks you're a lunatic. They'll admire you for being a lunatic, but nobody would ever do it. No one's standing, you look around and no one's next to you suddenly. And when I drove off that lot, I knew there was no going back.
Mm.
It's no going back. And that was a terrifying moment, honestly. It really was. And I planned it a long time. And also just that feeling of being fantasy stuff, planning thoughts, laying in bed, staring at computers, researching, and then to physically be in the embodiment of your dream.
Yeah.
A really weird thing, I have to say. I hope listeners get to do that someday.
Yeah. And I think once you've done that, once you've done it and lived,
I'm
and,
still alive. It's so true.
so then it makes it easier, I think.
I,
And you can talk
yes,
to this, but of
yeah.
saying yes to other things that are outside of your comfort zone, that maybe you aren't right today the expert at, but in your heart you can be in a short time.
So you've actually something I'm not sure we touched on this before. So part of this may be a surprise to you. But your point is super powerful. For sure, I'm not an interviewer. I've never been a podcaster. I don't know. I mean, I'm technically inclined, but now I'm a recording person. I can take video, I can upload it, I can do a podcast. I mean, we've launched the websites and all this crazy stuff that all now is just seems like walking and chewing gum.
Right.
One of the things that came out of this that besides the strength of humanity is also the weakness, I guess,
Mm.
is the mental health and the lack of tools, the lack of education, the lack of awareness, how ill-equipped we are for life, especially in between these
Mhm.
two ears. All
Yeah.
the stuff that goes on in the gray matter. Um, and I've come to past the conclusion. I've started the process of building a nonprofit.
Mm.
I don't know anything about I don't even know anything about running a business on my own. I've got one of those. So when you don't know anything about anything, just jump in. So I've now filed for I'm in the process of learning how to file on an IRS website for a 501(c). I'm building a foundation around mental health. And the weirdest thing happened the other day. I had this crazy idea and I thought, I don't know anything about mental health, and I don't know anything about mental health foundations. And I was talking to friends, and they're like, "You don't know anything about that. Well, you should get a therapist." Like, if you thought, and I was like, "Well, people are poo pooing on my idea. I don't like that. I have good ideas." And so now what I'm doing is, I'm launching another podcast. I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to start. I think this Friday I'll get one up, and I'm going to do it on mental health foundation. And I'm inviting anybody in either policymaking,
Mm.
patient advocacy, or on the insurance side, anybody in the mental health side, anything around that, to come on the show and talk for 30 minutes and do a live. I'm just going to do a live, very raw recording, and then just publish it. But it's actually more 30 minutes to educate Ken on their particular expertise and the audience.
Yeah.
If we gather an audience. So yeah, you can. I mean, for anybody listening, you just do it. Just be stupid like me. Just don't. I don't know anything about it, but here I am. I'm in it, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get somewhere. And I may not be. That may not be the final thought, right? Just like I
Mhm.
started the jar with one idea,
Mhm.
and it's turned into, now I'm creating a mental health foundation. I'm not sure this is the right path either, but
Yeah.
I'm following the leads.
Two things that come to mind as you were saying that. First of all, I remember one of my mentors who always told me that I should always hire smarter people than me. Don't be the smartest person in the room. So
Don't
for you to not know
Genius.
anything about this, but having the passion and the vision, that's a huge stepping stone to the foundation. And you can
Mm,
find smart people to help
absolutely.
you. And so that podcast is a great way. This is why I started this podcast, because I wanted to have a platform where I could connect people with the ones that would help them grow their business.
Oh,
I'm not going to tell you that I can teach you everything there is to do your business, but I can connect you with
I get
somebody who can.
right. Yeah, this is it. It's so powerful. Listening
Hmm. Yeah.
and letting people talk. Man, I've learned so much from people on my show.
I
Uh,
know for sure.
yeah, yeah.
So, what was it like living in Asia?
Amazing. In a word, amazing. It would be, if you're thinking about it, you fantasize about it, you think about going somewhere, it is everything you'd imagine it to be.
Mm.
It's super exciting. It's different. Uh, culturally, you'll never be that country person, right? I would
Mhm.
never be a Vietnamese person or understand culturally so many things. So it's kind of weird. You're inside, you're living there, and you could even be living, in a neighborhood, and you could
Mhm.
acclimate, but still there's a gap. You're always a foreigner.
Mhm.
Um, but if you keep the sense of wonderment, and patience, because
Yeah.
things are different, and you're a guest.
Mhm.
You have to always remember you're a guest, and they're not
Mhm.
stupid. They're doing it the way they're doing it the way they do it, and you got to kind of get your head around it. But I think a lot of foreigners, because I lived in different countries, and foreigner is a different thing in every country.
Mhm.
Um, that is one of the challenges, I think, is keeping your sense of humor. Things are different. Food's different. People have different cultures, different biases.
Mhm.
Everything's upside down, and it's a great. Asia was fantastic for me, and I loved every country. Even the countries I visited. It really was no place I didn't like. I
Mhm.
got on the airplane and I said, "Oh shit, I got to go there." It was, sometimes it was the work
Mm.
was where I was like, "Oh shoot, I don't want to go there because of the work or the
Yeah.
people I have to deal with." But I was always, the destinations were always great. And
And
the food if you're a foodie.
yeah, to me, it's just a great. I love learning, and I think that every
Mm,
time, every place you go, gives you such a great opportunity to immerse and learn
yes.
and understand that you are different, and that's okay. That's what makes the world go round, our differences.
And you really do, when you meet people face to face, right? All the
Mhm.
biases go away, all the stereotypes, the preconceived ideas
Mm,
kind of disappear because you meet the real person.
mhm.
So, what you think of different countries, what the people are like,
Mm,
we're all so close. We are so closely aligned. Forget the color of the skin, the shape of the eyes, the
mhm,
hair. You forget the religion, forget the politics. If you boil it down to, we are so closely aligned as people,
mhm.
to the core values of humanity. All this other stuff is noise, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. What advice would you give someone who is thinking, maybe someday I'm going to leave my comfy corporate
Mm,
job and start out on a business of my own? What advice would you give them?
be intentional. Right. I think we talked a little bit about
Mhm,
this,
mhm,
and it was not even a word in my vocabulary 2 years ago. It really was not. I mean, and I was intentional in a lot of ways, but I didn't understand intentionality and the
mhm,
out. And so one is be intentional,
mhm,
right? And I think what I mean by that is be a planner.
mhm,
There is nothing. You don't want to leave any stone unturned. So take your
mhm,
time, plan, and have that time. But you need quiet space time. So, and I don't, man, I tell you, I was a father. I go to my grandkids' house, and it's a circus. I can't do anything creative in there. Man, it's just full on chaos. Energy is chaos. So, you know, find some quiet space and quiet time when you can reflect and
yeah,
think and envision. I'm a real big fan of imagineering
yeah,
and imagining what everything is going to be like and visualizing it. I read a lot of books about the Russians doing this, years and years and years ago. A lot of science behind it. But the more detailed you can get,
mhm,
the better the outcome, the closer to the outcome. So some people are asking me, I get asked a lot, is it what you thought it would be? And I'm like, actually, it's like really, really close to what I thought it would be, because I've dreamed about like
yeah,
interviews, 1,000 interviews and 1,000 trips in and out of the van, and pulling into a parking lot, what that's like, where do you park, what do you pull the van, where do you put what stuff you pull out, I mean, in my mind, I've gone through 100,000 times. So one is be intentional,
mhm,
use that imagination about what you want it to be like, and the other one is tell everybody.
yeah.
I don't believe in this stuff about don't tell people your secrets or what your dreams are, because they'll crush it. That's how you find out who your friends are.
True.
Like that's why do you want to not know who you're like? That's the litmus
Mhm,
test. Run around and tell your friends you're gonna do something crazy and see who supports you.
mhm. But
Be
it but
Let
it
everybody
makes you
know.
accountable too.
It holds you
It makes you,
accountable,
yeah.
and it engages the universe.
Mhm, yeah.
I'm a
You put it out there.
It's a real thing, Vicky.
Mhm,
It's a real thing. The
right.
universe will the universe hates an imbalance.
Mhm.
The universe is a zero-sum game. Everything, it's a giant math equation, and you can use it to your advantage
Right.
by, if you jack the numbers up in your favor, the universe will have to fill in the balance.
Uh-huh. That's so good. So, what does leadership look like, smell like? What is the best and the worst leaders that you've worked with? And I could fill in the blanks there too, but
Yeah, I mean,
come
you and
on.
I could.
Tell me about
I
it.
think you spent enough time in corporate. We would, we could write a book on this.
Yes, we could. We
Well,
could. I
three
wait,
of
I started doing that.
I like this one though. When you frame it as what does it look like and smell like?
Mhm.
My first like the first thought, the first gut word that came out of it was you can't see it.
Mm.
But then that was wrong. Then I
Yeah,
quickly
no.
said, no, no, that's not right. You can absolutely see good leadership. And in
Mhm.
fact, then it was quickly to the reverse, which is actually leadership is basically tangible. You see it. It's everywhere in the office. Um, I I go back to, I kind of struggle for a second. Just I'm going back to some recent leaders, right? And the different kind of styles,
Hmm.
and because there's leadership, and then I think every leader that you'd put under that category has got different styles, and so some may be more favorable to some people than others.
Right.
Depends on on what you would be warmed up to. Where I've seen the greatest teams built, and for me, it's a leadership thing. It starts at the top, and they build a great team close to them, and then they watch it. So one of the things is they surround themselves with really good people
Hmm.
who they are confident can do the job. It's well communicated, so the vision and direction is well communicated, and it's the leader's vision, right?
Right.
And they hire people around that who can fulfill that, and then they get out of the way,
So good.
and they get out of the way, and
Yeah.
they empower these people in a kind of a almost a reckless manner,
Yeah.
is a way you could say it, right? Because you have to be, if it's a, I mean, look, if you're holding the reins for a company, you don't have to be reckless. And you don't have vision, right? You're just
Hmm.
executing. Coca-Cola, just
Hmm.
don't screw it up. Just don't change the
Hmm.
formula and keep spending trillions on advertising. Everything will be fine. Change a formula once every 10 years to just upset people. But if you're running a real business,
Hmm.
and you need vision, and you need
Yeah.
leaders who hire people who can understand that and communicate it to their teams as well. And
Mm.
everybody needs to be, this communication part for me, the parking lot attendant, the person scraping dishes in the cafeteria, the secretary who comes in early and goes home late. um, they all need to know what things they do, how that plays into the big picture,
Mhm.
how your role, why is it important that we don't have an error rate when we're keying in information into the system? It seems like the basic entry level job is keying information. If we still have, for example, you have people keying in information,
Right.
and that's a sucky job. I mean, that's brutal to strap it
Yeah.
on every day, to go in and sit down and transfer a white paper into a formula somewhere in some spreadsheet, or into a program. That's a tough job. Or to
Mhm.
check images on a system. But it's critically important.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons why. And you can explain, a good leader can explain to the person in the back of the room, your job is critically important because it affects this person who affects this person. And when the
Mhm.
customer calls, it ruins their experience, or it
Yeah.
makes their experience amazing. So, it's good vision, good people at their front level, and then that ability to explain while everybody's in it together, and everybody's
Mhm.
job is important.
We could probably do a whole another hour on this,
Oh,
talking
and
about
leaders.
your and my experiences. I One of the things that I teach is leading with your heart, your head, and your hands, because I truly lived through the experience of
I love that.
how it
Love that.
empowered people to really become innovative. We always talk about succession planning and why, these people aren't coming, and their leaders oftentimes just look for mini me's instead of looking for people that will fill the gaps and the holes. And so we could have a whole nother podcast on all of that.
I
But
have
we
a
are
yeah.
we're running out of time, so we're
Okay,
going to
let's
go
get to,
ahead to the rapid fire and
here
see
we
what
go.
we've got for you for this. What is the
The
hardest interview you've done, and why?
hardest interview I did very easily. I I can even still
Besides
remember.
today.
Yeah, besides today, was the fall of 2000, and I got interviewed by Mr. Frank Chan. He was a CEO for AIG in Hong
Mm,
Kong, and AIA, and that was my interview with the local guy. First time I'd met a local person,
yeah.
and he was known as being a real tough, hard ass. And he was every
Mm.
bit he was every bit of what I expected.
Lived to.
And I I had it was one of the few times I ever left the job. I had no idea the interview, how it went. And I got downstairs and they said, "Oh, you're fine."
Oh,
And I literally, yeah, I really walked out of there and went, "Okay, that guy's got ice in his veins."
That's so
No,
tough.
no tells. He did not have a tell.
What is your biggest regret?
Biggest regret. I mean, there's personal ones and there's work ones. I think a work one would be not taking those chances, not getting out of jobs that weren't good for me, no matter
Mm,
what the impact financially or emotionally, or to just get out of a
yeah,
toxic place instead of hanging on and hoping something would change.
yeah,
Yeah.
can understand that.
Hard choices, hard choices.
What does compassion, acceptance, and forgiveness all mean to you?
Where did you get that question? Why that question?
Mhm.
Well, those are powerful tools.
Yes, they are.
And so in my book, the second part of the book,
Mhm.
the second book of the book is it's basically called the Book of Others. And in my mind, these are things: acceptance, forgiveness, compassion are three things that we absolutely need in our skill set, our tool set, in in being with other people. So it's a direct for me. It's more of a interpersonal skill.
Right.
And and I there's another kind of a song lyrically. I've got this thing going in my head, which is I started out in life maybe looking for acceptance, right? And I've
Mhm.
and along the way I learned actually forgiveness was what I probably needed,
Mm.
and to both myself and to give forgiveness, to accept it and to give it.
Wow.
And in that, I found real compassion.
Mm.
It sounds kind of goofy, but I just came to this. Actually, it's like this is another song cooking in my head,
Yeah.
and and I wasn't sure what to do with that. So in the book, but those parts in the book are really powerful for me. I mean,
Mhm.
acceptance. I don't have to agree with what you do.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of confusion today around what people want to do and what the lives they want to live. And I think
Mm.
people can live any life they want. This is it's a beautiful thing about being humans and where we are. Hopefully we can do that. But doesn't mean I have to, I may not want to live your life.
Mhm.
Right. And I may not believe
Mhm.
the way you living is the way I want to live.
Yeah.
So I can accept you for who you are. It doesn't mean I have to agree. And I
Mhm.
can have compassion as well.
Whenever I read that, and we thank you for mentioning your book. That was one of the next things. So, but I kind of reflected on the last 20 years, and
Hmm.
in my 50s, I really started to understand this.
Yes.
Up to then, I was always seeking acceptance, right?
Yeah.
As a young corporate person, you're
Yes.
always trying to do what others want you to do, what you think they want to do, and you didn't. Your authentic self was
It,
never good enough. You always had that imposter syndrome, and then in my 50s, I grew as a manager because I became more empathetic and
yeah.
emotionally intelligent, and that compassion for others just carries through so much. And and in life we know that you just have to forgive and forget and move on,
Yeah.
right?
This is so true. I mean, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not. This is when you're young. I mean, this is really holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. These are heavy, and it took me this long to get to the place where I thought I understood these. I thought I understood these topics.
Yeah. So your book must be awesome. I'll have to get it. Actually, I think I did download it. The last question is the next big thing for you. I think you told me it, but just
Yeah, yeah.
the
I
the
let that out of the
foundation,
bag.
right? Right, the
Yeah, foundation.
foundation.
It is
All right.
yeah. It's really the next big thing, and I think I don't know where it's going to lead. One of the one of the pieces of advice, although it wasn't shaped in a piece of advice, but it came out that way. Somebody was asking me, what's the next big thing, Ken? What are you doing after this? Where are you going? What are you doing? And I said, and this was 5 months ago, 4 months ago. And I said, I honestly, and it happened a few times, I don't know. I don't really know, but I have this plan. And it's weird because I have books with, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 25. What am I doing when I'm 100? Right. I was having these things, and I had all these notes from, and I was going to do this and do this. And I had all these lists and just put it out there kind of stuff, not so serious, but just a marker. And I realized, holy cow, I don't have all of my things that I've written down, all my plans that I had done before are out the window. I have so upside down my life that everything that I had, all these things, none of it's going to happen. It's all going to be very different. So it's very exciting. And so the message I got back from somebody was, they said, "Oh, the path will rise to meet you. Don't worry."
Love it.
It's an old Irish saying, apparently.
It is. That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome? So it gave me such a warm feeling when they said that. I was like, so I'm doing it's okay that all my plans are destroyed and I'm on this stupid thing. I'm doing this stupid idea all by myself. So there's something yes, you'll be okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to share my screen for all of you that have just been listening in. You're going to go and grab that pencil and paper so you can write down at least Ken's website. All of this information will be on my YouTube channel as well as my website if you didn't grab the screen. But if you are watching, please go ahead and feel free to do a screenshot. All righty. So we see that Ken is at thejar.live.com.
Yep.
So thejar.live. And he is on LinkedIn under his name as well as Instagram. For Facebook, you're going to do podcast.thejar. And so I wanted to just let him talk a little bit about, the episodes that he has on that podcast. What kind of topics do you discuss?
Yeah. So on the podcast, we've got we're almost got the 200 up. We're just putting up the last episodes, one every couple of days now. And it's really all the questions that are in the jar. So I have this, ginormous jar. It's got 444 questions, and it's about your yesterdays, your todays, your tomorrows, acceptance, forgiveness, compassion, love, karma, service, and faith and hope and prayer. So those are the 12 topics, and I made 400 questions. And so it's me and a guest in the jar, and they pull a question out, we talk about it, and they pull another one out and we talk about it. And through that, we learn their story.
So awesome. That is wonderful. All right. So everybody, you're going to want to go to thejar.live to check out Ken's website and check out also his episodes on Spotify to hear his stories about all those people that have pulled their questions from the jar. So Ken, it has been just a wonderful time talking with you, getting to know you. And again, I encourage everybody to go to his website and learn more. Check out all of his episodes so you can hear the stories of 200 of his newest, bestest friends. And as always, I remind everybody that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. It has been just wonderful. This is Vicki Nettling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Nettling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.